The sun rising over Egypt's Mediterranean coast. The Nile Delta is home to generations of Egyptian fishermen casting out onto the Med. It's also the country's smuggling heartland. Those very same boats loaded up with human cargo headed for Europe. Some eventually make the journey home, but too many never return.
My son left on September 6th. 7 days later, they told us the ship he was on has sunk.
Ibrahim's son was 17 when he disappeared. She says smugglers later told her he was crewing one of their ships headed to Italy. And she's not alone. As we spoke to Ibrahim, another mother sits quietly crying, waiting to tell us her story.
He never stole. He never worked in smuggling or any of these things. They told him, come work for 10 days fishing and come back. And since September, and up to this moment, this fire is burning us. We can't eat, drink, or rest.
A lot of the parents don't want to show their faces, but they do want us to show the pictures of their sons. This is Karam. His mother still doesn't know where he is. He's amongst at least 6 of the kids from this village that went down on that boat. Their families have been searching for the last 9 months, and they still have no idea where these boys are. Both mothers hope that by telling their stories, someone, somewhere will recognize the boys. We'd been investigating the trafficking of teenagers and boys from Egypt to Italy for several months now. Boys forced to work on smuggling ships and then dumped on the Italian coast, manning the boats ferrying illegal migrants. As we finished up the interviews, news had spread that the next stop on our journey was Sicily. Mothers crowded us in the street with pictures and documents. It feels like this entire village is enthralled to the smugglers. This has become such a lucrative trade that a lot of these mothers that are flooding around us, they say that their sons were forced on these ships, were forced to man these ships, and now they say that they've been imprisoned in Sicily. But they're not just crewing the boats. They often make up the bulk of the passengers. The political uncertainty of recent years has plunged Egypt into economic turmoil. All those who are able, sometimes as young as 9 and 10, are risking the sea crossing to Italy, sometimes risking jail the other side. Smuggling inlets like Burj Mghazel dot this coastline. Captain Mahmoud and his ship's mate have made the journey to Italy many times, smuggling over boatloads of kids. The parents, he says, are as much to blame as the smugglers.
People here in this village, they're selling their kids. They think, we're 10 and we can't find enough to eat. When we're 9, we can eat a little better. If we're 8, we can eat a little better still. If 2 get locked up, better than we all die together.
If the smuggled children do make it to Italy and find work there, it could change their entire family's fate. We leave Burj Mghazel. There are many more villages along this coast where parents have stories to tell. But before we arrive at the next one, we receive a phone call. The families say we're no longer welcome. Further evidence, perhaps, of the smugglers' influence. There are laws in place to protect vulnerable children here, but we ask the government body tackling this issue, is it enough?
There are families who have lost 2 children on the sea crossing to Egypt, and they still send their last remaining son. Can you believe it? There has to be zero tolerance under the law for the brokers of this. They tempt parents with an awaiting paradise.
Gazing out across the Med from here, it must feel like they're looking towards a promised land that is just within reach. But for so many who do make that journey, what they find is hardship and heartbreak. And more children who've carried with them the burden of their families' dreams. Nima Elbagir, CNN, Burj Mghazel, Egypt.